Hi everybody, I'm Brooke Sanders, and this is Johnstown's Finest. We're here with Laura Huchel. Laura is running for mayor of Johnstown, and thank you very much for sitting down and answering some questions for our community. I really appreciate it.
I'm delighted that you asked. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a few questions here, and we're just going to jump right on into it.
Fantastic.
So why don't we just start with letting folks know what is a mayor supposed to do in Johnstown, Pennsylvania?
So Johnstown, Pennsylvania has a home rule charter, and we do not have a strong mayor form of government. We have a council manager form of government. So Johnstown City Council is made up of 6 council members and 1 mayor. And then the city manager is doing often what we would think a mayor does. So the city manager is the boss of the police department and the fire department and the public works department. And council's function, along with the mayor, is to select the city manager. So we select the city manager, and we also have the power to create ordinances and resolutions that determine the government of the city. So within city council, the mayor functions like the 7th member of council. They get a vote in all matters. What makes the mayor a distinct position is the leadership functionality of the mayor. So they have technically no real power more than any other council member, but they do have the power to create proclamations, and they do have the power to run and facilitate the council meetings. So they hold the gavel and essentially are determining the agenda items as they come up. So pre-writing that agenda has its own function. And then of course they have a ceremonial purpose in that they are often at the ribbon cuttings and things like that. But more importantly, the mayor is often the one traveling with the city manager when we're visiting other members of government. So when we're taking a trip down to DC, it's the executive director of the redevelopment authority, it's the city manager, and it's the mayor. So the mayor is often the de facto representative of all council people.
Alrighty, so now that we know what mayor is to do in our town, why don't you let everybody know why you are running for mayor?
So I decided to run for mayor because I felt called to do more for the city. So I have a long history of civic engagement with Johnstown, whether that's planning commission, the redevelopment authority, or my first term on council. And I realized that there was more I can do as a mayor in terms of representing the city. So we have a wonderful opportunity where certain council members are retiring, they're not running again. So we have at least 4 new faces, 5 if we're counting Taylor as a new face, which I think we should, on council, and not a lot of people with government experience so far. So having a mayor who's able to guide them on parliamentary procedure or something like that, or ways to get things done, I think is going to be really helpful as we have a new council coming in. And a fresh mayor, I think, is also a great way to start someone with goals and ideas that are progressive and moving forward.
How are you going to improve Johnstown's economy should you become mayor?
So that's a great question. I think a lot of things that are currently happening can be built upon. I think trying to promote existing resources and expand them is probably the best way to go, because there's already infrastructure for those resources. In terms of new things that we can do, I really want to take a comprehensive approach to the way downtown and other neighborhoods look. So when we have investors coming in from outside, we've got something nice for them to look at. So obviously with the Main Street and Central Park project, we're going to have a lot of activity down here, but we don't want buildings with empty storefronts. So what can we do to partner with real estate? What can we do to partner with other nonprofits to get inside these buildings, at least clean the windows, put up some artwork? So I started doing some of that on Main Street already at Alma Hall, but we need to do that on Vine Street. We need to do that on parts of Franklin Street to make our downtown core appealing to investors who come in. We need to do more to attract the right kind of investors to Johnstown. So having conversations with other municipalities who are doing the same thing, having conversations with industry leaders and industry groups. So Johnstown has a lot of water. Our water is relatively inexpensive. What can we do to attract a computer server farm to Johnstown? So things like that, trying to find the industries that are a right fit to Johnstown.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So then that covers a lot for downtown area. And what about our businesses that are outside of downtown?
So a lot of the same approach for them, for a lot of the outlying areas.
Funds for them, facades for them. Absolutely. For them as well?
Exactly,
so
100%.
Those funds will be available to folks outside of downtown.
Correct, yeah.
Good.
That's right.
All right, good. So how will you help improve Johnstown to make it a better place to live?
So there are a lot of people in Johnstown who need resources, and I don't want to diminish people who are struggling for where's that next meal coming from, or I don't have a place to stay. We certainly need to do more for that, and that's on my plan in terms of what we can do for homelessness and runaway children. But what speaks to me in my core is arts. Arts are a fabulous way to build community for people who feel like they're not heard or that they don't have a community themselves. So when you're expressing yourself through your artwork and sharing that with other people, you're building community, you're finding common ground with each other. And that is something that we desperately need in this country, in this world, and certainly in Johnstown as a community, so that we're starting with a baseline. We're able to share and create and be together and find that community. And certainly the arts are a fabulous way to do that, the best way I know, and certainly very close to my heart.
So what applicable experiences in the professional world do you have that would make you a great Johnstown mayor?
That's a great question as well. I have a degree in American politics from a prestigious university, so very, very proud of that. But I also have a lot of experience, just boots on the ground. So when I moved to Johnstown, I moved here because I had a job in the insurance industry. So I have a lot of experience with different businesses, how they operate, what their needs are, what their balance sheets look like, who their leaders are, and how that all functions together cohesively. And then what risks they face. So my insurance background is helpful there, and then that translated into a different position within that same company where I was helping merger partners acclimate to the corporate experience. So a lot of spreadsheet jockeying, a lot of data, and then a lot of how do small insurance agencies function, and then become part of a whole. So a lot of deep business understanding on that end of things. But also my civic and municipal experience is just grows and grows. So I sat on the board of a nonprofit nursing home, and then I joined Johnstown Planning Commission in, I believe, 2015. So I've been serving on that since then. The Planning Commission's function varies, but often we're evaluating plans that businesses have, like we would like to build this here. What do you think about this? So Planning Commission serves as an advisory board to council. So I've had a lot of experience on Planning Commission. And then obviously I ran my own campaign and got elected in 2021 to begin serving in 2022. So more understanding of how government works, how it relates to the public, and then what we need to do to make sure that our government runs efficiently, that we're able to have a balanced budget, but that also we're paying attention to the needs of our residents and our businesses. So there are a lot of misconceptions in the community about Vision Together 2025, what their purpose is, what their function is, and how they're involved with government. So I don't have any personal stake in Vision Together 2025. I've never served on their board. I have been part of their capture teams because that was a vehicle to be involved in community service. But I don't have a vested stake in them. What I can say as an elected member of council, Vision Together 25 doesn't control me or any other part of city government. And as far as I'm aware, they don't control any other council person. Vision Together 2025 is a partner of the city. So Vision Together 2025 is able to step in when maybe the city doesn't have resources to address a given problem or time to focus on a particular difficulty the community is having. They're able to challenge the city and say, hey, we're doing this. City of Johnstown, what are you doing? And encourage us to step up. So Vision Together 2025 is a partner. You can have your differences with that executive director or the funders behind Vision Together 2025, but I think it's very difficult to argue that they don't have an overall positive impact in this community. Their goal is to create more community engagement and a better experience for Johnstowners. So I think they're doing fantastic work, but it is work that is separate but aligned with what the city of Johnstown wants to do.
Off of Facebook, Joe Warhol, he's quite concerned about blight removal and codes enforcement. He's really concerned about them really becoming rat holes, and that's a problem in our community. What's your thoughts?
So this blight is an issue that's very personal to me as a Moxham resident. Many neighborhoods in Johnstown, all the neighborhoods in Johnstown are dealing with blight in some way, shape, or form. Moxham has particular challenges, and there are numerous ways to deal with blight. My favorite way to deal with them is by providing rehab grants to homeowners who want a better place to live so that we can prevent properties from becoming blight. Obviously, the question's not about that. It's more about, what are we doing about the blight that we have? So we do have so many dollars for demolition that every year we try to spend on, the most problematic places. We have some dollars for demolition, for emergency demolition if we have a fire at some place like that. So every year we put together a list. We try to take out the ones that we can. We are limited in some cases where there's a historic overlay district. We're preventing from using federal dollars on demolitions, so we rely on some of our partner organizations to be able to do that. So Johnstown Redevelopment Authority often gets some demolition money every year that doesn't need to subscribe to those standards. We want to encourage private investment for people who want, to build more, real estate, more ground to develop. They can do private demolitions without being subject to these concerns. And then codes enforcement, what can we do to use codes, frankly, as a tool? So the city of Johnstown recently changed somewhat its approach to code enforcement. We downsized our codes office because we hired a third-party service to do codes management for us. So we didn't get rid of our codes department. The vehicle for a resident to make a codes complaint remains the same. You continue to go to Dave Williams or another member of the codes department in the city. So at City Hall, you can use their emails.
Are you finding that it is a success?
Early days. So far, yes. We're able to pursue civil charges at the magistrate as the city of Johnstown. We can say like, hey, you're not paying your liens, we're going to court. What our third party can do, so we're free to refer any and all of our codes complaints to this third party for enforcement. What they can do is pursue criminal charges against the owners of these buildings. So that's going to be a tremendous help too, and then also some bandwidth help. So the city does pay a fee for this third party to manage our codes complaints, but again, we can shovel all of it over there. So we should be at a point where no codes complaint is going unaddressed. So it's not like different types of crime, like drug crime or something like that, where we're waiting to build a case. We should be able to start addressing those code complaints immediately. So it's taking some time to ramp up. It's taking some time to socialize that with our city codes department to make sure that we've got a new sense of what it means to be a good codes enforcer. But I also really value nuisance code enforcement. So if you've got someone who maybe owns a couple of blighted properties or who is a slumlord, you can target these people, and not unfairly against, not discriminating, but say like, your blighted properties are really standing out in my otherwise nice neighborhood. Like, we're going to code you all day, every day, until you understand that your property needs to be brought up to a certain standard.
That, I'm sure, is going to make a whole lot of people very happy to hear. Very happy to hear, because it is a problem. So I want to talk a little bit about homes that do come up for sale that people have passed away, so they're all right. So we have apparently an issue with LLCs coming in, purchasing up all of these properties, and then they're just sitting there, and they're bringing in outside assessors to assess them. So I mean, this has to stop, right? I mean,
absolutely, yeah. So I've been seeing this since I moved here in 2012. So the idea that third parties, people who don't live here, people who are just real estate investors, when in fact they're predators, are coming in and they're buying up our landmark buildings in some cases, sitting on them, not doing anything with them, and improving their own real estate portfolio with them. So what can we do about that? Well, again, in order to avoid being discriminatory and saying you can't buy property here, we can't do a whole lot of that. But what we can do is make it more difficult for them so that it's not an easy windfall. They can't show up to the county tax sale, write a check, and then suddenly they own half of Johnstown, which is technically possible. So we want to make sure that we're able to do something. So with the LLCs, changing the way codes enforcement is done to be able to target those LLCs and the people behind them should be helpful. Again, we've got a lot of ramping up to do, and we've been talking about codes for years and years too. So keeping our council and the city manager keeping their thumb on our codes department to make sure that we get that done and we're not just still talking about it. But also using the land bank to our advantage. So I'm a great proponent of the land bank, and of course they were talking about land bank for years and years before I got on council too, and I was finally able to see that happen. So our land bank as the city of Johnstown is organized as part of the Johnstown Redevelopment Authority. So that's the way the laws in Pennsylvania work, is that land banks are typically organized under a redevelopment authority, whether it's a county or a city. So Johnstown's Redevelopment Authority has control of Johnstown's land bank, and we function as Johnstown's land bank. What that's able to do with the LLCs and to start combating that problem is a lot of the problem is like, oh great, let's say the house next to me is for sale, maybe it's blighted, maybe I want to tear it down, or maybe, you know, it's already torn down, it's just vacant space. What can I do about that? So as a private person, I would have to figure out all of these deep, intense things. I'd have to go to the county, I'd have to register, I'd have to pay a fee, I'd have to get title searches, I'd have to do all of these things myself without any education on that topic, just to be able to get the lot next to me to make my yard bigger. And instead, LLCs or individuals from out of state or even, you know, different places within Pennsylvania who are just frankly predators come in and they make the big purchases. So what a land bank can do is a land bank has priority over any municipal tax sale. So what we can do is take from the public. Laura Huchel wants to buy the house next door to her, you know, Petunia wants to buy the house on Park Avenue. Great. So they take all of these as entries, and then the land bank can go to the county and say, these are the properties that we want to buy. The land bank is entitled to buy any properties they wish for the minimum bid. So it's $200 in our case, unless you're dealing with an upset sale. But the unsold at upset sale list is primarily what we're talking about, the private sales. Mm-hmm. So they're able to buy those properties for a minimum bid with no bidding process. So essentially they're just taken off the list right at the beginning of the county tax sale and say, land bank is buying properties A, B, C, and D, and, you know, we'll continue to hold our bidding on these other properties. So this gives regular residents a fair shake, okay? The land bank doesn't keep and hold these. We're not trying to be a real estate development company. We're not trying to, you know, amass, you know, large swaths of property in Johnstown, although that could be a redevelopment strategy. Right now, we're just at the point where we're helping get property into its highest and best use and back into taxation. The highest and best use, the way we accomplish that, and to be equitable, is we say, great, the property next door to Laura, we bought it. She wanted us to buy it, but it's open to the public. Anyone who wants to submit an economic development plan for the house next door to Laura can submit an economic development plan, and then the City of Johnstown Land Bank, the Redevelopment Authority Board, decides which of these economic development proposals is superior. So it may be these people are offering $1,000 more, or these people, you know, have this great plan, whereas these people's plan isn't very good. Then you can decide that as the land bank, and then you're able to transfer that property to the person who submitted that economic development plan that prevails. Yes, so a bit like Vision, there are many misconceptions about the park too, and a lot of strong feelings based on opinions that people are sharing. So what a lot of people aren't talking about with the park is that it's not just something nice to look at. It's not a legacy project to celebrate any one person. The primary purpose of revitalizing the park and creating a new and different design is to attract people here and to attract more activity. So the goal of redoing the park is really to create a venue that is lit with some events 9 out of 10 days of the year, so that we've got a beautiful park with active events where people are engaging, people of all walks of life coming to see these different and diverse events. And then that feeds the businesses around the park. That feeds Johnstown as a destination, which feeds all of our neighborhoods and makes Johnstown an attractive place to live. I represent a new way for Johnstown to move forward. I am the candidate for Johnstown who is looking for a way that Johnstown can be in the future. I'm looking at what that vision is for the future, and I'm also looking at how we're going to get there. So there's a lot of talk about, oh, Johnstown should be this or that. I understand that we need to make a plan to get there, and I'm committed to making that plan with the involvement of all of our residents and businesses and stakeholders in our community. So as the candidate who is, you know, looking forward to growth in Johnstown and taking us there step by step, I am asking for your vote to make me the next mayor of Johnstown. My website, lauraforjohnstown.com, so you can check out all the dates there. So one thing I'm doing as part of my campaign is a series of community walks. So it's where I take an hour in every neighborhood of Johnstown and pick a starting point, an ending point, welcome residents to meet me at either spot or join me on my walk. I'm curious to hear from residents about their concerns about their community. The route isn't pre-planned, so we can make some changes based on things that people might want me to see, and otherwise just get to know my residents even better, get to know the streets even better. That schedule for my walks is at my website, lauraforjohnstown.com, so you can check out all the dates there. There are 13 dates between now and election on May 20th, so please vote May 20th.
Yes, yes. Make sure that you're registered to vote, folks. And I will try to make time to at least accompany on one of her walk and talks, is what I call them.
Yeah.
And I will be sure to promote her dates so you folks can know when she's going to be doing her events. I think that's just fantastic. Well, Laura, thank you so very much for sitting down and speaking with me today. We learned a lot about who you are and what you stand for and what your agenda is for being a mayor of our Johnstown. And I look forward to working with you in the future. And folks, I sure hope you learned a lot, and you know how I roll. Till I see you next time, stay friendly.